A dusty, unkempt apartment filled with stacks of research binders and newspapers yellowed with age. Sarah, 30s, sits hunched over a laptop, her face illuminated by the cold blue light. She is a shadow of her former self, hollow-cheeked, with dark circles under her eyes. The once vibrant woman is now consumed by a 5-year-old mystery. Her phone rings, a jarring sound in the oppressive silence. She ignores it, believing it to be another well-meaning friend trying to pull her back to a life she no longer inhabits. But the ringing persists, insistent and urgent. The caller ID shows Miller, an old name she hasn't seen in years. Her heart pounds, a feeling she hasn't had since the day her sister, Emily, and her brother-in-law, Ben, vanished. Reluctantly, she answers, her voice a dry rasp from disuse. The words that come through the receiver are a chilling echo from the past, a 5-year-old nightmare reawakened. The news hits her like a physical blow. "They found something, Sarah. Your sister's car." The words hang in the air, a cruel promise of answers she no longer believed she would receive. The call is from Detective Miller, the lead investigator on the original case. He is the one person who truly understood her grief and her unwavering belief that the case was not what it seemed. The discovery of the car, burned to a hollowed shell near a remote trail in Yosemite, shatters the fragile peace she had constructed around her grief. For 5 years, she has been a ghost in her own life, haunted by a lack of closure. The memory of Emily's last phone call, a cheerful promise to send pictures from their trip, plays in her mind. A constant loop of what-ifs and what-could-have-beens. This one, final thread of hope, is now the only thing keeping her from falling completely apart. The phone conversation is a blur of fragmented details, a hiker, a remote location, a forensic team already on its way. Sarah's mind races, a whirlwind of hope and dread. The car's discovery doesn't just reopen the case, it rips open the wound of her grief, exposing it to a cold, harsh light. She had spent half a decade poring over cold case files, interviewing people who barely remembered the couple, and walking the same trails her sister once walked. All of it had led to nothing, to a dead end of endless questions and no answers. Now, this single, charred clue ignites a fire of purpose within her, pushing away the suffocating despair that had been her constant companion. She hangs up, her hands trembling, a decision forming in her mind. A flashback fills the screen, a sepia-toned memory of a happier time. Emily, a woman with a contagious laugh and a warmth that could fill a room, is packing a suitcase. Ben, her husband, a kind-hearted man with a gentle smile, is by her side, zipping a duffel bag. They are preparing for their trip to Yosemite, their faces full of the excitement and anticipation of a new adventure. Sarah is there, taking a picture of them, capturing a moment of pure joy. Emily waves goodbye, promising to call, a carefree smile on her face. The image fades, replaced by the grim reality of the present. Sarah stares at the framed photograph on her desk, the same picture from the flashback. The image is a brutal contrast to the grim reality of the present. The happy couple, forever frozen in a moment of pure joy. Their smiles a stark reminder of the beautiful, vibrant lives that were extinguished without a trace. She grabs her car keys and heads for the door, her movements deliberate and focused. The fog of her grief lifts, replaced by an urgent, almost frantic energy. She knows she must go to Yosemite, to see the car with her own eyes. The police, she knows, will only follow the procedure. She has learned over the years that procedure doesn't always lead to the truth. Her sister's car, the last physical link to their lives, holds a story. She needs to hear it, to feel it, to find the truth that no one else cared enough to uncover. The long road ahead is daunting, but she is no longer a passive mourner. She is an active participant in her own story, driven by a desperate need for answers. She is not just seeking the truth, she is fighting for the memory of her sister and the man she loved. Sarah arrives at the Yosemite National Park, the crisp mountain air a shock to her system after years of being cooped up in her apartment. The vast, majestic landscape, a place of peace and tranquility for so many, now feels sinister and foreboding. The beauty of the towering granite cliffs and ancient sequoias is lost on her, replaced by a sense of dread. This is where they spent their final days. The scene of the discovery is cordoned off, a hive of official activity. Uniformed officers, forensic technicians in white suits, and Miller, looking older and more tired than she remembers, are all at the site. The charred metal skeleton of the car is a grotesque monument to a tragedy. Sarah feels a strange, cold calm as she approaches the scene. She watches as a technician carefully places a piece of burnt fabric into an evidence bag, a small, insignificant scrap that once belonged to her sister. The sight of it is a gut punch, a painful reminder that Emily's physical presence is now reduced to ashes and fragments. Miller sees her, his face a mix of sympathy and frustration. He knows her well enough to know she won't be pushed away. He walks over to her, his voice low. He warns her that the car could lead to more questions than answers. He tells her to go home, to let the professionals handle it. But his words only fuel her resolve. She looks at him, her eyes burning with an intense, unwavering determination. "I am not going anywhere," she says, her voice firm. "I am the only one who truly cares about what happened to them. This is not just about a missing couple anymore. This is a 5-year journey of a sister, a detective, and a community haunted by an unsolved mystery. It's a story of how a single discovery can turn a cold case into a fiery investigation, forcing everyone involved to confront their past and their deepest fears." Sarah's arrival at Yosemite is the beginning of the end. The car is the key that will unlock a Pandora's box of secrets, lies, and betrayals. The beautiful, treacherous landscape of Yosemite, which has held its secrets for so long, is finally about a give them up, but not without a fight. The search for the truth will take Sarah and Miller down a dark and dangerous path, where the line between victim and perpetrator is blurry, and where nothing is as it seems. This is just the beginning of the story. What do you think happened to Emily and Ben? Drop a comment below and let us know where you're watching from. Miller's office is a monument to a career nearing its end. Dusty awards, a fading photograph of a younger him, and a perpetually messy desk. Sarah sits across from him, her posture rigid, her eyes fixed on the crime scene photos of the burned-out car spread across his desk. The car is little more than a charred cage, a ghostly shell of the vehicle her sister once drove. The details in the photos are grim. A melted rear-view mirror, a child's toy half fused to the dashboard. The toy, a small, faded plastic dinosaur, is what breaks her. It belonged to their nephew, Emily's son, and Emily always kept it in the car for him. The emotional weight of this small, sad object is overwhelming. Miller watches her, a silent understanding passing between them. He has seen this raw grief countless times, but this time it feels different. He knows that this isn't just another case for him. It's a personal mission for Sarah. The forensic report is a maze of technical jargon, but one detail stands out to Sarah. Traces of an accelerant were found on the seats and the floor. This was no accident. The car was deliberately torched. Miller confirms her suspicion, his voice heavy with the weight of the years. The person who found the car was a hiker, and they were a full 3 miles from the nearest trail. The location is remote, almost impossible to get to by car. The logistics don't make sense. If the car was driven there, why was the path not a well-worn trail? If it was towed, by what? And why burn the car in such a remote, hard-to-reach place? These questions swirl in Sarah's mind, a frantic, desperate search for a logical explanation in a situation that is anything but. The car, instead of providing answers, has only deepened the mystery, confirming her long-held fear that the disappearance was an act of foul play. Sarah starts her own investigation, going back through her old notebooks and files. She finds a receipt from a local garage, dated 2 weeks before the disappearance. It shows that Emily and Ben had a minor repair done on the car. She decides to visit the garage, hoping for a clue. The mechanic, a gruff old man named Gary, barely remembers the couple. But he does recall one thing. Ben was stressed. He was asking about getting a loan for a new transmission, but the car didn't need one. He was secretive, nervous, and kept looking over his shoulder. The car was fine, Gary insisted, but Ben seemed to be in a panic about something else entirely. The information is a tiny but crucial piece of the puzzle. It suggests that Ben and Emily were in some kind of trouble, perhaps financial, that Sarah knew nothing about. The happy, carefree couple she remembered from her last visit suddenly seems like a facade. Back in her apartment, Sarah digs deeper. She uncovers a hidden file in Ben's old laptop, a folder she hadn't found before. It's filled with encrypted financial documents and emails. With Miller's help, she gets a tech expert to crack the code. The files reveal that Ben had a crippling gambling debt. The couple was in serious financial trouble with multiple overdue loans and threatening emails from a loan shark. Ben had taken a large, high-interest loan just before they left for Yosemite, and the money had disappeared without a trace. This revelation shatters Sarah's image of the perfect couple. Her sister had kept a massive secret from her. The couple she thought she knew so well was living a lie. The betrayal of this secret is almost as painful as the loss itself, making her question everything she thought she knew about their lives. This new information gives the case a motive, but not a clear suspect. It explains why they were stressed, but not why they vanished. Sarah and Miller track down the loan shark mentioned in the emails, a ruthless man named Vince, who operates a small casino outside of Bakersfield. He is a dead end. Vince insists he was never directly in contact with Ben, only his associates. He claims he had no reason to harm Ben, as his business was about collecting money, not killing people. His cold, calculated demeanor is unsettling, and Sarah instinctively feels that he is hiding something, but she has no proof. He's a dead end, a closed door in a long hallway of possibilities. The encounter leaves her feeling frustrated and defeated, as if she's run into a brick wall. The investigation shifts to the mysterious loan. The money, it turns out, was not used to pay off Ben's debt, but was wired to an offshore account. The recipient of the wire transfer is a woman named Chloe, a former girlfriend of Ben's from his college days. Sarah remembers Chloe, a free-spirited, enigmatic woman who Emily had always been a little wary of. Sarah and Miller track Chloe down to a secluded cabin in the Sierra Nevada mountains. She is a woman who has clearly seen her share of hard times, her eyes holding a deep-seated sadness. She is initially hostile, refusing to talk, but when Sarah shows her the photos of the car, she finally breaks down. Chloe tearfully reveals that Ben had asked her to keep the money safe. He had planned to use it to pay off his debts and start a new life with Emily, away from the clutches of the loan sharks. She reveals that Ben had planned to meet with a contact in Yosemite who could help him disappear, to start over. This is the first mention of a plan, of a premeditated act. But Chloe insists she never knew the details of the meeting, only that it was a last-ditch effort to save his family. The story of a desperate man trying to escape his past and protect the woman he loved paints a new, more sympathetic portrait of Ben. The new information, however, leaves Sarah with more questions than answers. Who was this contact? Did Ben and Emily run away? As Sarah and Miller delve deeper into Ben's past, they discover he had a secret passion. He was an avid caver, a hobby he had given up after marrying Emily. They find his old caving gear and a series of hand-drawn maps of the many caves in Yosemite. They find a particular map, marked with a red X, a location that is off the beaten path, far from any hiking trails. It is an obscure, seldom visited cave known as the Echo Chamber. The location is only a few miles from where the car was found. The connection is too strong to be a coincidence. This is a place where Ben would have felt at home, a place he could have used for a secret meeting. The hope that Emily and Ben simply ran away is reignited, but the evidence of the burned-out car keeps this hope on a short leash. Miller, using his old contacts, gets a search warrant for the echo chamber. As they drive toward the location, Sarah's heart pounds in her chest. She can't shake the feeling that they are walking into a trap, that this is the final piece of a puzzle they have been assembling for years. The drive is long and silent, each of them lost in their own thoughts. The towering trees and massive granite faces of the park loom around them, beautiful and terrifying at the same time. The scale of the park, and the insignificance of their small car against it, is humbling. It's a place that can both inspire and consume, a truth that feels all too real as they approach their destination. The air grows cold and thin, and a sense of foreboding settles over them, a quiet, chilling premonition of what they are about to find. They reach the location, a small, almost hidden opening in the side of a cliff. The echo chamber is a dark, imposing void. Sarah feels a sense of immense dread, a premonition that this is where her search will finally end. The air inside is cold and still. They find nothing at first, just an empty cave. But as they venture deeper, Miller's flashlight beam catches a faint gleam of metal. It is a necklace, tangled in a small rock crevice. It is Emily's necklace, a delicate silver chain with a small heart locket, a gift from Ben. Sarah's breath hitches. This is not the end she had hoped for. This is not the proof that they ran away. It is proof that her sister was here, a brutal, undeniable fact. The locket is a cruel joke, a symbol of love left in a place of abandonment and death. The discovery of the necklace feels like a punch to the gut. The hope that had been keeping Sarah going for all these years, the faint, flickering belief that her sister was still alive, is extinguished. She crumples to the ground, the weight of a 5-year-old loss finally catching up to her. The tears she had been holding back for so long finally come, hot and fast, a torrent of grief that washes over her. Miller tries to console her, but there are no words for this kind of pain. This is a place of endings, not beginnings. The cave, once a symbol of adventure for Ben, is now a tomb for her hopes. The search for a new life, for a clean slate, had ended here, in this cold, dark place. The truth, she realizes, is far more complex and far more painful than she could have ever imagined. They discover more clues inside the cave, not of people, but of a struggle. Torn fabric, scuff marks on the ground, a small, broken flashlight. These are not signs of a couple running away to start a new life. They are signs of a fight. Sarah's mind races, piecing together the events. Emily and Ben came here, but they were not alone. Someone else was here, someone who wanted to stop them. But why would the loan shark follow them all the way out here, to a place no one would ever find them? The brutality of the scene doesn't fit the profile of a professional debt collector. This feels more personal, more sinister. The mystery deepens, twisting into a more horrifying shape. The car, the necklace, and now the evidence of a violent struggle. These are fragments of a story that is not just about a missing couple, but about a terrifying, unknown force that claimed them. Miller, an old dog with a nose for a good mystery, realizes something. The car was found 3 miles away from the cave. The location, he now understands, wasn't chosen to hide the crime. It was a decoy. The burning car was meant to draw the police away from the real scene of the crime, to buy time for the perpetrator to do whatever they needed to do. It was a cold, calculated move, a sign of a clever and methodical mind. The perp wanted the car found, just not immediately. The 5-year gap between the disappearance and the discovery was a stroke of macabre genius. The case, Miller realizes with a chilling jolt, is far more complex and dangerous than he ever imagined. The person they are hunting isn't just a random criminal. They are an intelligent, organized killer who knows the park and its secrets better than anyone. Sarah, now filled with a new sense of purpose and a burning rage, delves into the caving community. She talks to fellow cavers, park rangers, anyone who knew Ben and the caves he explored. She finds a forum Ben used to frequent, a small, tight-knit online community. She starts reading his old posts, his digital footprint. She finds a conversation between Ben and another user, someone with the username Pathfinder. Ben talks about a new cave he discovered, a hidden gem he was excited to show off. The conversation ends abruptly, just a few days before their disappearance. Pathfinder, it turns out, was a park ranger, a quiet, unassuming man named Jake. Jake was known for his extensive knowledge of the park and his passion for the outdoors. He was also an odd, reclusive man who kept to himself. Sarah and Miller drive to Jake's cabin, a small, secluded place on the outskirts of the park. It's a humble dwelling, filled with books on geology and a small workshop where he crafts hand-carved hiking sticks. Jake is initially polite, but his eyes are wary. He remembers Ben and the conversation they had. He confirms that Ben was excited about his discovery. But when Sarah asks him if he ever met Ben at the cave, his demeanor shifts. He becomes evasive, his eyes darting around the room. He denies ever being at the echo chamber with Ben. The more he denies it, the more Sarah is convinced he's lying. She sees a small, freshly carved walking stick in his workshop, a beautiful piece of wood with an intricate carving of a bird. It is the same kind of stick Ben used to talk about carving himself. This small detail, a seemingly insignificant clue, confirms Sarah's suspicion. The confrontation with Jake escalates. Sarah, her voice trembling with emotion, shows him the picture of her sister, the same one from her desk. She tells him about the necklace, about the struggle in the cave. She appeals to his humanity, his love for the park, his knowledge of the place. Jake's facade crumbles. He confesses. He met Ben at the cave, but not to admire his discovery. He was there to confront him. Ben, it turns out, had stumbled upon something Jake had been hiding in the cave for years. A small stash of stolen artifacts, rare fossils, and historical relics he had been pilfering from the park for years, selling them on the black market to fund his quiet, solitary life. Jake had been using the echo chamber as his personal safe, his private vault. The truth is a cruel, bitter pill to swallow. Jake didn't kill Ben and Emily out of malice. He did it out of desperation, to protect his secret. Ben had threatened to report him, not because he was a righteous man, but because he saw an opportunity. He saw an opportunity to blackmail Jake, to get the money he needed to pay off his debts and start a new life. Emily was there, a witness to the whole sordid affair. Jake, cornered and desperate, saw no other option. He confesses to a struggle, to Ben hitting his head on a rock and dying instantly. He says Emily ran, screaming, into the woods. He says he chased her, but he couldn't find her. He claims he burned the car to lead the police away from the cave, to buy himself time to hide the artifacts and disappear. He claims to know nothing of Emily's ultimate fate. This is the truth, but it's a truth that feels incomplete. The story Jake tells feels hollow, full of convenient holes. Sarah, driven by a gut feeling, doesn't believe him. She believes he killed Emily, and that he is now trying to cover up a murder. She presses him for more information, for the real story. But Jake, now sullen and withdrawn, refuses to talk. A wall of silence. The truth, she realizes, is not in the confession, but in the details he omitted, in the parts of the story that don't add up. The car was found 3 miles away from the cave. The necklace was found inside the cave, a cruel final memento. The fight happened inside the cave. The facts just don't fit the narrative. She knows that Jake is lying, but she can't prove it. The search for her sister is not over. It has just begun again, in a much darker place. The mystery of the burned-out car has led her to a killer, but it has not led her to her sister. The final truth, the one that matters most, is still out there. somewhere in the vast, unforgiving wilderness of Yosemite. The investigation now has a suspect, but the case is still far from closed. Emily's body is still missing. Jake, a known killer and thief, is a prime suspect, but without a body, the case is weak. The truth, Sarah now knows, is buried somewhere in the vast wilderness of Yosemite. The search for the truth is no longer about a missing couple. It is about finding her sister, about bringing her home. The story of Ben and Emily is a tragic tale of secrets, of a couple trying to escape their past, only to be consumed by it. The mystery of the burned-out car, a symbol of a desperate act, has led her down a path of darkness and despair. The truth, she realizes, is not a clean, neat package, but a messy, painful reality that changes everything. The air is cold and thin, the afternoon light filtering through the dense canopy and fragmented shafts. Sarah and Miller, a grim, determined pair, are back in the woods near the echo chamber. They are following Jake's footsteps, searching for any sign of Emily. The confession was a lie of omission, a carefully constructed half-truth designed to protect him from a more serious charge. Jake said Emily ran, but Miller, an old hand at these things, knows that a scared woman running through these woods would leave a trail. There are no signs of a struggle, no broken twigs, no displaced leaves. She didn't run. She was taken. Sarah, fueled by a renewed sense of rage and despair, is no longer looking for a clue. She is searching for a body. She pushes through the undergrowth, her face streaked with dirt and tears, her heart a drum of fury and grief. Miller's seasoned eyes scan the landscape, not just for a trail, but for anything that looks out of place. He notices a patch of ground that looks recently disturbed, a small mound of dirt half covered by a fallen log. He calls Sarah over. With a collective dread, they begin to dig. They are not using shovels, but their bare hands, desperate to find what they know is there. The dirt is cold and unforgiving. Sarah's hands become raw and calloused, but she doesn't stop, driven by a primal need for closure. The fear, the anger, the grief, all of it is channeled into this one final act of desperate digging. She is no longer just a sister looking for her sibling. She is a mourner seeking a grave. The act of digging is a brutal, cathartic release of 5 years of pent-up pain and sorrow. As they dig deeper, a piece of fabric emerges from the soil. It is a bright, familiar shade of blue. It is Emily's sweater, the same one she was wearing in the last picture Sarah took of her. Sarah pulls it out, the once vibrant color now dull and stained with dirt. The moment the sweater is in her hands, she knows with a chilling certainty that this is the end. There are no more what-ifs, no more possibilities of a new life. This is the truth, cold, brutal, and final. The emotional impact is staggering. She holds the sweater, pressing it to her face, a desperate, final attempt to feel her sister's presence. The fabric smells of earth and decay, a heartbreaking contrast to the perfume she remembers. Beneath the sweater, they find a small, makeshift grave. It is a shallow, undignified resting place, a cruel final act by a desperate man. As they uncover more of the grave, the gruesome reality of Emily's death becomes clear. The sight is horrific, a brutal, visceral reminder of the violence that claimed her life. Sarah screams, a sound of pure agony that echoes through the quiet woods. Miller, his face a mask of cold fury, quickly pulls her away. He covers the scene, a final somber act of respect. The sight of her sister, once so full of life and laughter, now just a sad, broken remnant, is a vision that will haunt Sarah for the rest of her life. The grief that had been a dull ache for 5 years now becomes a raw, gaping wound. The mystery is over, but the pain is just beginning. This is the peak of the emotional turmoil. All the frustration, all the hope, all the anger, all the grief of the past 5 years culminates in this single devastating moment. The discovery of Emily's body is not a moment of victory, but of profound loss. Sarah had spent so long looking for a sign of life, and instead, she found a sign of death. The emotional weight of this truth is almost unbearable. She looks at Miller, her eyes full of a new, terrifying clarity. The killer is not a monster in the woods, but a man who lived a life of quiet desperation, a man who killed to protect a petty secret. The randomness of it, the utter pointlessness of her sister's death, is the most painful truth of all. As Miller calls in the discovery, his voice tight with controlled anger, Sarah walks away from the grave, her body numb, her mind in a fog. She walks to a nearby stream, a place of peace and beauty. She kneels by the water's edge, splashing her face with the icy water, trying to wash away the nightmare. But the image of her sister's face, a final, tortured expression, is seared into her mind. She looks at the surrounding forest, once a symbol of adventure and hope, now a graveyard. The majestic trees, the towering cliffs, the serene beauty of the park, all of it feels like a lie, a cruel facade hiding a world of secrets and death. The truth is found, but the resolution is far from peaceful. The climax is not just the discovery of the body, but Sarah's emotional realization. The final, brutal reality is that her sister's disappearance was not the product of a grand conspiracy or a tragic accident, but of a small, pathetic crime that spiraled into murder. The murderer is not some faceless killer from the dark, but a man who spent his days as a park ranger, a respected member of the community. The juxtaposition of the mundane with the horrific is the final emotional blow. The man who killed her sister and brother-in-law was not a monster, but a thief, a liar, a man who was afraid of being caught. And that is the most terrifying truth of all. The sun sets over the majestic cliffs of Yosemite, casting long, mournful shadows across the forest floor. Sarah stands alone, a solitary figure in a vast landscape, her face pale and drawn. The police are on their way to process the crime scene and take Jake into custody. The resolution of the mystery has brought her no peace, only a new, more profound layer of grief. She looks out at the darkening horizon, her mind replaying the events of the day. The car, the necklace, the grave, they are no longer separate pieces of a puzzle, but a tragic, interconnected story of love, lies, and a senseless death. The truth is a heavy burden, but it is hers to carry. She is no longer haunted by the unknown, but by a known, and that is a different kind of pain. She has fought for 5 years for this moment, for this truth, and now that she has it, she doesn't know what to do with it. The silence of the forest, once so comforting, now feels oppressive, a final chilling tribute to the lives it has consumed. Miller finds her there, a quiet, somber presence. He doesn't try to console her with empty words. He simply stands by her side, a silent ally in her grief. He tells her that Jake confessed to the murders and to the theft of the artifacts. He says that the evidence is overwhelming and that Jake will spend the rest of his life in prison. The justice she sought is within reach, but it feels hollow. It won't bring Emily back. It won't erase the memory of the past 5 years. She looks at Miller, a man who believed her when no one else did, and a silent, profound understanding passes between them. They have both been changed by this case, haunted by a mystery that has now been brutally solved. Their relationship, forged in loss and obsession, has come to a somber close. The end of the case is not an end to their pain, but a new beginning of it. The final scene is a silent one. Sarah is back in her apartment, no longer a mausoleum of her grief, but a place of quiet reflection. The stacks of binders and yellowed newspapers are gone, replaced by a single framed photograph on her desk. Emily, Ben, and a younger, happier Sarah. The picture is a testament to the life she once had, and the life she must now build. The obsession is gone, replaced by a quiet acceptance. She has found the truth, and in doing so, she has found a part of herself she thought was lost forever. The journey to find her sister led her to a truth she never wanted to know, but also to a strength she never knew she had. The search for justice is over, but the journey of healing has just begun. The story ends not with a final, happy conclusion, but with a profound sense of closure and a lingering melancholy. The murderer is caught, but the tragedy remains. The final message is one of the destructive nature of secrets and the immense, enduring power of love and loss. It's a reminder that the truth, no matter how painful, is often the only thing that can set us free. But that freedom comes at a high price. The beautiful, treacherous landscape of Yosemite has finally revealed its secrets, but not without taking its pound of flesh. Sarah is not the same woman who started this journey. She is a survivor, a testament to the human capacity to endure and to heal, even in the face of the most profound loss. The final shot is of Sarah, sitting by a window, the morning light on her face. She is no longer hunched over, no longer consumed by the past. She is looking forward, a quiet, determined resolve in her eyes. The framed photograph on her desk is a reminder of what she lost, but also of what she found. Her own strength, her own resilience, her own story. The end of the film leaves the audience with a sense of quiet reflection, a feeling of sadness mixed with a profound respect for the human spirit. The mystery is over, but the emotions linger, a testament to the power of a story that is both terrifying and deeply human. The truth came at a devastating cost. What do you think Sarah's next steps should be? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories like this.